I'm working on it.
I can't do two things at one time, just to be clear.
I know. Good morning, everybody. We're already on live. We're going already, and we're still organizing. So, good morning, happy Thursday. It's Don Chakowski with Fidelity National Title, and I am here with some of our usual crew. Mr. Jesse Herpel of Keller Williams Attorney Group. Jesse, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, sir.
Ms. Mindy Jones-Navarre, the owner of the Amy Jones Group. Mindy, thank you.
Good morning, everybody.
And Miss Annette Hunt from Guild Mortgage. Thank you, Annette. And we're excited to hear about the nearly free money as usual. So, maybe. There was a shrug there, like she might be going back on us today. So,
there's been a lot of news. So.
Good. Yeah. well, thank you everybody for being a part of this week. Sharon had something come up, so she wasn't able to join us this morning. And for those guys who are seeing the original post on this, we did something a little bit different this week because it's the week before Thanksgiving. We wanted to spend a little time talking about how we show our gratitude. But we do want to start with our usual updates on what is happening out there in the market. This is, we're speculating over the last couple of months about what were the holidays going to look like this year. Were we going to see the same traffic as we have been over the last several months? Because nothing has been as expected of a normal year, and we haven't followed any normal sales cycles. So I'm going to ask Mindy and Jesse what you guys can tell us about what that's looked like over this last week or two, and if there's any indicators what we should expect these next 5 or 6 weeks. Mindy, you are muted.
Listen, the longer you do this, the worse you are at it. So there you go. You can't blame COVID when you're 9 months in.
Yeah.
So it's really interesting, right? And I'd love to get Jesse's perspective, and I'm excited to hear about what Annette has to share today. But when I look at Cromford this morning and we check to see exactly how many listings we have available on the market, we're back in the numbers that start with a 7. So we're at 7,905 active listings available on the market. So very, very low inventory. We've been going between about 7,800 and 8,600 available listings at any given time for the last about 4 months. So we haven't really moved the needle very much. We typically expect inventory to be a little bit lower in the fourth quarter. That's normal. We typically have some sellers pull back from the market and some buyers pull back from the market. So usually not too much of a net difference from a contract perspective. This year, it looks like we've got some sellers who've pulled back from the market in the lower end price points, and also just there's not much available there anymore as the price points continue to rise. But the luxury market is having one of its best quarters ever, just a few weeks into this last quarter of the year. So we've seen a massive increase in the number of transactions over $500,000. As of the second week of November, we saw 771 listings closed over $500,000 across the greater Phoenix area, which is an increase of 90%, 90% compared with the same 2 weeks last year. So inventory in the, of all price ranges is tight, but it's really incredible to see the force that the upper end of the market has right now. There's a lot of speculation about, are we getting an influx of buyers from other cities and states? And we all hear, lots of talk about Californians coming down here. I saw an interesting note. The price of a U-Haul one-way rental from San Francisco to Phoenix is only $311. But the cost to take a U-Haul from Phoenix over to San Francisco is $2,500 for the same trip. So when you think about supply and demand, that would tell you that U-Haul prices are based on the demand and the supply, and there's probably very little of those trucks left to move people to Phoenix, and several of them left here in Phoenix. And so these are some interesting indicators that we watch. You know, we've already had a shortage of housing for just the folks who live here, and we will continue to have people come to our beautiful state, and especially here in the Southeast Valley. We've got a ton of income opportunities, great businesses, large and small, that continue to drive folks here. So we continue to watch those patterns of people coming in and out, but I expect that you're going to see some more of the same as we continue through the holiday season. Not only a shortage of inventory, we're seeing some large builders having trouble meet their deadlines. So we've got lots of clients who've pushed into the new year who plan to close at the end of this year. And I just don't think any of that can change overnight. We all know that the market of the moment will not be here forever. We don't know when it won't be here any longer, but there's certainly some significant changes that would need to occur both in the demand and the supply side to start to see appreciation flip course. So it's a really unique opportunity for people to take advantage of the market. And I think where we really need to be keeping our ear to the ground is on the lending side. And that's why I think Annette is really an important piece of today's conversation, because those interest rates are the ones that have the ability to so severely impact someone's buying power and someone's monthly payment, which are the two most important pieces to a lot of our families, whether it's for their primary residence or they're looking to cash flow on a rental property.
Well, and so let me ask, and this might be directed to all three of you guys, because, you know, a 90% increase in luxury closings in a quarter is huge. You know, so does that tell us about inventory? Does that tell us about money availability? Because jumbos were something that were kind of stuck for a while. So I'd love to hear from all three of you what you think those factors are that are kind of kicking that into a different spot.
And the only one I'll add to that, and then I'll let the two of them give their perspective, is that when we do look at the inbound population from other states, and I'll just use California as an example, it's certainly not the only place that people are moving here from, but if we look at that one, they say for every one person headed into California, 2 are moving out. And they believe that for the population that's moving out, it's of the wealthier set of people. So you imagine someone coming from a state, not only the wealthier set of people moving, but also just where their average price point is significantly higher, and they come to an area like ours, the demand or sheer buying power for people in that high luxury space, it becomes, you know, kind of a feeding frenzy.
Okay. Jesse?
I was just going to say, I think it's all three of those. There was a lot in what Minnie just shared with us, and it's kind of it's an interesting conversation that we've been having and having for in the last 6 months. When we think of inventory, we say shortage of inventory, and by definition, that would be demand is outpacing the supply, and that's what we're experiencing, and we're also experiencing more listings coming to the market than we've ever had in this market in history. So there's two things happening here, and the only reason I'm pointing that out is and Minnie does a great job of summarizing it from a consumer perspective of what you can do within this market. And I tend to do that and come from, if you're an agent navigating through this market and coaching and consulting your clients, what is the conversation and what is it that you do? So number one, it's a great time to sell, and we have more sellers selling than we ever have in the history of our entire market. Number two is, as an agent, there is more opportunity for you than there ever has been in this particular market. But there's two stories going on, right? There's agents that are having record years. There's agents that are not having record years. And those were fundamental decisions that they made months ago, I suppose, somewhere along the way, right? However, the business, from a business perspective and from a consumer perspective, the time has not been better to A, sell your home, and then B, buy, because of the interest rate. So, because it almost feels like an oxymoron. How could it be both? And well, it is based on what Mindy was saying earlier, the cost of money and the payment, and the equity that you have in your existing home. Now, on average, if we have a 23% appreciation rate just this year, right? Is that the right number, Mindy? Is it 23?
We're ranging anywhere between 16 and 25, just kind of depending where you are.
Okay, per Cromford today was 23%. So if you take the average sales price for easy numbers, what's 23% of 350,000? This is participation, Don.
Yeah, it's about between $75,000 and $80,000.
$80,000, right? This year. Now we had appreciation last year too, and the year before. So depending on how long they've owned this home, they've got a significant amount of equity. Now the question then becomes, all right, so what do I do with the equity in the home? Do I park it and leave it there and have it do nothing for me? Do I go and go to a different home, whether up or down size, because it makes sense to do that based on the cost of money? The third one is, should I do both? Or the fourth one, I guess, would be, should I refi, take some money out and buy an investment property? So this is a great time to, if you haven't started investing in real estate, to start. If you are already investing, continue and utilize this window of opportunity, like Mindy said, that we have right now. And what we do know about windows of opportunity is they open and close quickly. And today's opportunity will be different next year. We don't know what it's going to be. We don't need to know that. We just need to know how do we coach, advise, and run our businesses within any given market.
And I think, Jesse, in the current market, if we're going to speak to the real estate agents who might be watching this as opposed to the consumers, the role of the local real estate agent has never been more important than in the environment that we're in right now. The stakes are so high for people. The opportunity is so high for people, but the emotions are also running so high for people. And so for real estate agents, their role is to be that fiduciary, to explain the options, to help understand the sense of urgency and the fact that the market of the moment will not be here forever, to ensure that everybody knows what they have available to them. Because if they didn't grow up in a household where people invested in real estate, if they're a first-time home buyer and they don't have models of what buying a home looks like, they may not understand how accessible some of this is to them. And so I think the role of the agent, not only to be a mentor, a guide, a partner, a friend, a fiduciary, a connector, right? Help them with other resources that they need in this type of a market. Agents need to be putting in the legwork. I spoke to several people this week. I've got clients looking in a very specific neighborhood, and I spoke to several people in the neighborhood whose houses aren't on the market and had a conversation about, we've got clients, they're looking in this neighborhood. Do you know how much you have? Have you thought of making a move? Can we have a conversation about this? That's not something that a big box, out of state based organization can help provide for our families here locally. And so I just think that it's such an important time for us, and we have such a big responsibility on our shoulders right now. And Annette, the same is true for you in the lending world. Your role is so valuable for consumers right now.
Oh, it's huge. Well, and to go back to the conversation of 90% increase from last year in that 500 plus range. I mean, I'm seeing it all the time where I've got clients who purchased 2 years ago who now have built up this equity and they're able to afford their dream home because it's so cheap to borrow the money. You know, it just makes sense. It completely makes sense. And so that's why I was like, I wanted to get your thoughts on that 90% increase and where you thought that was coming from, because that's part of what I'm seeing where that increase came from. So I think now is like the best time for someone to be a move up buyer and to sell their house. I'm almost in that position myself. If I look at it from a consumer standpoint, right? Like I purchased my house 3 years ago. I've increased my value roughly about 35 to 40%. And it's like, okay, now what do I do? Do I, just like what Jesse presented, the questions, what do I do? Like, do I refinance? Do I rehab my home? Do I sell it, take the money and run? Like, what do you do in that situation? So I'm like many people feeling that same way.
And I keep telling my clients that too. So many of the houses that we go to look at are agent owned, right? And so I always tell them the same thing. I mean, I could tell very early on in the season, many of us here in these 4 boxes and in people that we know have made moves this year. And there's a reason. There's a reason people in the industry are taking advantage of the market environment.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
there's one answer to what you do as you're considering those questions is you call a professional real estate agent that specializes in your area, and you have them come through and present the options and what the outcome of each option would look like, and then determine what would benefit you and your situation best moving forward. That's what you do in that. So I suspect you'll be calling Mindy soon, right?
Yeah. I'll tell you what, it's really, hang on, let me dial right now. For sure. I mean, and that's the reality of it, right? We need professionals like ourselves in our lives to be able to help us make those tough decisions and guide us through what these are and weigh our options. You know,
well, and I think that there's, so I worked in retail for years, and we would talk about store blindness, right? So like if you worked in a retail location, that after a while you looked at those same walls all the time and you didn't notice little things that like maybe your consumers noticed when they came in. And I think the same thing applies to us in this industry. We become industry blind, right? We expect people to know about these things, and like, because we know about them, and there's so much a part of our lives, but that's not the case for the average consumer. And so it's important that we first tell people there's something that they should be educated about, and then we take the time to educate them on those processes. And what those things mean for them, right? Because they don't even know that there's something that they should be paying attention to. And so now it's important that we do that, and then we have a plan to help them see and help them get to past the dilemma you just described, Annette. Get them over the hump there so they can say, look at Susie and I were in the same position, this spring, and we're like, man, I can buy a bigger house and pretty much spend the same amount of money every month. The money's cheap. We're gonna cash out well in our house. Let's do it. Is there going to be a better time than this? Probably no. So let's do it. And that's what. But not everybody's in our position, and getting that messaging out there. So Mindy, Jesse, Annette, how are you getting the messaging out there to your clients and to your friends and families about how they should be examining these things?
So a lot of it is these kinds of things, right? I mean, at the Amy Jones Group, we do pretty regular broadcasts on Facebook Live where we have this conversation about what's happening in the market and what those opportunities look like. We also are reaching out to our database pretty regularly and letting them know that there are opportunities for them in the market. We're doing a client appreciation event this weekend, which really is out of gratitude for all of the folks that have allowed us to be along the journey with them. But as part of the invitation to that event, we've asked our clients if they have any needs or any questions about the current real estate market and how we could possibly help them or explore those things with them. So it's really just boots to the ground, getting out there and talking to our clients about what it looks like and making sure we're being very active on social media so that people know what the true environment of the market is like. I had one of my agents yesterday I was talking to, someone gave them some feedback that's, they said is now a good time to sell. There are still people that really don't understand what's happening in the market. And a lot of that, like I said, is because they're just not necessarily around people that are taking advantage of the market or knowledgeable about the market. That's, we take for granted sometimes that people know some of the things that we know being in this industry. I, can't tell you how many times I've told my agents, if you go to a house for a listing appointment, someone who wants to sell their home and it's a really nice, big, fancy house and you feel intimidated because your house doesn't look like that, you have to remember that no matter what price range people are looking at, you have knowledge about this industry and about what's happening that the average consumer doesn't. And so I think sometimes we think we've got to give out all this complicated information or charts and graphs. Really, we just need to be doing fiduciary and getting out there and saying, do you understand how this works? Let me explain to you how it works. And is there an opportunity for you and your family to benefit from this environment?
Absolutely. Excellent. Jesse, anything you want to add as far as getting the messaging out there? You have like a disco party going on in your office. I keep seeing flashing lights.
No,
and
I don't. There was a guy with these Christmas lights on top of his car that followed me to the office this morning. I think he's still there. I told him I was busy. I'd be back in a minute. I don't know what it is. Oh, I know what it is now. So I have Christmas trees in my office on the other side of the office, and there's the garland on it. And I think it's the lights reflecting off of that. We put them in the office.
For the record, I'm in the same office and I don't have this problem. Just
right, yeah.
Let me see.
Oh, got it.
Here you go.
So,
Excellent.
anyways, now can you see me?
We can see you.
Just basically what I think the biggest thing is, number one, you got to educate yourself and understand what's truly going on, because people, no matter what you're doing, can read through whether you truly understand what's going on and how to help them.
Right.
So that's step number one. And you got to be genuine, you got to be authentic, and you got to know the numbers. And from there, I think you just whatever you do in your business, whether it's I would hope you have a database. If you don't, we need to talk. And you message it through conversations and emails and sharing things like this here. October was this came out yesterday. Tell me when you can see it.
Oh, hold on, mate. You gotta give me a heads up. You're there you go.
Oh.
I click buttons on my side to make it happen for you.
Oh, okay.
So we got
Well,
it.
anyways, can you see that?
Yeah.
So October was the highest month in recorded history of listings to the market in October, and then in sales, which was 23% up higher than the year before. And so when you look at the number of listings that came on the market, 10,420, the opportunities are massive. And if you look at the monthly sales, I mean, look what's being absorbed. Back to the original conversation and being able to share with them, this is what's happening in our market. This is what it would mean to you, and you can go through those options that I presented a few minutes ago, and really understand how can you get them to their goal with the least amount of frustration and hassle possible, right? And so I think you take the information and you dissect it into a really simple way to articulate it.
Right. Absolutely.
And one example would be the windows of opportunity that you hear me talk about, because we seem to get amnesia really easy. Go back in your mind and think about decisions that were being made March 1st of this year.
Mm.
Now, my question is, did we have a low inventory market at that time already?
We did. Yeah.
We did. Okay. Tell me about the decisions that were being made March 20th. Were they different?
What's that?
Were they different?
Yes, they weren't in line with the low inventory market, the decisions that were being made.
Well, there was a 3 weeks difference in what people were doing March 1st versus March 20 something, right?
Right.
And so, because I know a lot of people, when they hear me say windows of opportunity, it doesn't resonate with them. They kind of roll their eyes inside their head. That would be in a recent example of what I'm referring to. Okay. Now we went through a period of time, and then we go into summer, and then what happens?
Right.
Right. Well, this year, obviously, a little different than most years. Typically, people go away, but this year we had an explosion in sales over the summer.
Exactly. So it was a window of opportunity, right? And you say this year compared to most years, I could list out different events that have happened in our economy across the last 20 years. That in a year or 2 years max, there was always something that created a window of opportunity.
Sure.
So understanding what those are and being able to articulate what that is and what it means to your client.
Excellent.
I don't know if that answers your question. And I do think there's a big influx of inbound buyers. It's 16% of all purchases right now are from out of state.
Yeah, that's a huge number. So, but I would also tell you guys, so I get a lot of people who get very caught up in we need to start marketing to out of state, and not that that's a terrible idea, but 84% of the buyers are coming from in-state. So
yeah, I mean, you have a huge influx of buyers coming into a state where we already don't have enough houses for the people that live here. So it doesn't matter right now who you're marketing to on the buyer side. What you really need to focus on is the level of service that you can provide, because there's enough people who need you.
Well, what I would do is I would market to both, and the easiest way to do that is go take listings.
Right. Yep. Great call. Absolutely.
Yep.
So, Annette, I want to make sure that we talk about where we're heading in the mortgage industry as well. I know we talked a little bit about the some of these luxury buyers, but what are we seeing overall right now? Any changes? Any anticipated changes? I may have heard some things. So I would love to hear your feedback on that, and if these rumors are true about maybe FHA increases.
Yeah, that will be coming out. Usually that comes out just after Thanksgiving, right? So we're all anticipating that. Like, is it going to change? If it does, how much is that going to be? I would take a gander and an educated guess to say that yes, we're going to see an increase of the FHA loan limits. Why? Because we don't have inventory, prices are going up, and that's typical what happens. But I also, in the back of my head, I also think about Mark Calabria in charge of Fannie Mae and what he's done during this pandemic with the mortgage industry and small little things that he's done. And I'm like, we'll see. But my guess is that they're going to increase. So as you can tell, I'm not a huge fan of Mark Calabria, but
I was starting to pick up on it a little bit. It was very subtle.
well, and if anyone knows me, I follow the rates and the markets pretty well. So I'm not going to say that I'm some sort of awesome expert or anything like that, but I do listen to really good people every single day on what's happening. Yesterday, we had kind of our loan officer business planning, right? There are a bunch of loan officers. We're all on Zoom video doing our thing and creating our plans for next year. And what was interesting is we did have Dan Rawich, who is an amazing guy. He's on Facebook. So if you guys want to follow him, he does a quick little update in the mornings about where he thinks rates are and what's happening in the markets. So he was on. We had a full hour with Dan yesterday, and I was really kind of taken aback by what he said. And this coming from him. Obviously, it's been a weird year already, but I would have to think that he's been in this for over 40 years, doing rates and markets and mortgages for 40 years. Sorry. And he said he believes that rates will stay at a reasonably low level for at least into 2022.
Wow.
Yes. And
how do you spell his last name?
Rawitch, RAWITCH. Yeah.
Got it.
So he's a really great person to follow. Of course, I follow Barry Habib. Love that guy too. They're both just amazing people in this world as far as mortgage world, right? But what he also said is because the rates follow inflation. Inflation right now is low. It's going to continue to stay low. The feds are going to continue to buy mortgage-backed securities. That's what his potential forecast looks like for the next year or two. So I was really interested by that. So I thought that was interesting. But I do have some things that I want to share with you. So I'm going to share my screen. Hopefully you can see that, right? Can you see this existing home sales? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So this was nationally. Barry Habib put this out today. Nationally, month over month, they were projecting that home sales would increase, like maybe I roughly believe he said around 1%, but get this, 4.3%. But better than this, obviously here in the Valley, we're on a completely different level. So, and we've got Jesse and Mindy here to tell us all about it, of course. But what I did see and what I want to show you is this chart. Now, a lot of things have happened over the last week and a half. And you can tell by where interest rates are at what's happened in the market. So you see down here, this first, can you see my little cursor on this by chance?
Yeah.
This red? Okay. So this is just before the election, right? Like this is the day of the election. The very next day when nobody's been labeled the president, you know, like there's indecision right now, the rates dropped. So when it goes green, it drops. Well, can anyone guess what happened on this day where the rates went up a little bit, where it was red?
I'm guessing a winner was declared in the election.
No.
No?
It was when the vaccine was announced.
Oh, okay.
Right? So then that excitement kind of wore off. And so it goes up again. And now we've steadily gone. And when I say go up, that means more people are buying mortgage-backed securities in the market. So that in turn decreases our rates a little bit. It just depends on how much, on how big these jumps are. But you can see just by the news what's happened with rates. So it's not just inflation, it's on a daily. It really is a daily thing. I was talking to a client the other day and they're like, well, where are rates going to go? And I said, I have no idea right now. You know, right now they're really good. You should lock in. They're really good. Are you happy with this? Are you happy with this payment? Does this payment meet your goal? And of course they said yes.
What did that? I'm curious, Annette. What did the difference between that announcement of a vaccine to say today? What was the difference in the actual rate?
It was roughly about 0.3%. So it's a pretty decent jump between here and here. So it was a 0.3% difference in rates from when there was no decision in the election to when the vaccination was discussed, and now it's coming back up again. So that in turn, like I said, we've got a decent rate today, you know, and well, they're all really good. I mean, even up here, even down here, it was still like 3%.
Yeah.
So here you were at like 2.8, 2.7 with not paying any points, you know. So yeah, it's it's definitely a good time to be buying or refinancing. There was some other news, just real quick, some jobless claims. They did increase over this week, but however, the continuing claims from the beginning of the virus, you're looking at a drop, and we are now roughly at 6.3 million across the country. So yeah, and it tells you here, like, the largest increases have been in California, Illinois, and New York. So that did have a little bit of an impact of where our green candlestick is today, as far as rates are concerned. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen.
Well, no, I appreciate it, and this is great information. And I think that knowing these things help us all be better educators to our clients, right?
Absolutely.
So when we're able to, and that's why it's important that that you as an agent out there are working with somebody like Annette, who is going to help you to be able to just go through all this information, to digest it all, and to be able to turn this into a great conversation with your prospects and clients. So,
and I think for agents, if they're not connected to, whether it's their office or they're on a team, if they're not connected to people who are talking about this information at this level, they really need to look at surrounding themselves with people like that for 2021. Because I think gone are the days where you can just, hang your license somewhere and go out and service people with whatever, little knowledge that you have available to you. I mean, obviously, like us at the Amy Jones Group, this is a career choice for us. This isn't not a fly by night. This is not a hobby. This is not a side gig. So we take all of this information very seriously, and our education and our training very seriously. But I think for agents, who are new to getting into the market, or who've maybe been in the market but haven't operated at a high fiduciary level before, this market necessitates that. And so if you don't feel that you have the skill, or you don't feel that you have those connections, now is the time to start setting that up for yourself for next year. This is a market that you can thrive in, but it is a market with a significant level of responsibility. So aligning yourself with a team, with an office, with partners who understand that, I think is more important now than ever.
Exactly. I don't think truer words could be spoken. That's what, if you're going to be successful in this business, if you're going to be successful in this industry, you have to be surrounded by people who are knowledgeable and are going to support your ability to gain knowledge. So
yeah,
really important. So
the question you want to ask yourself, I love that, Mindy. And the question you want to ask yourself is what's the number one skill that if I was to go acquire that would propel my business to new levels? And then right behind that is, do I have that in arm's reach to get to? And if you don't, then you do, and you just need to reach out. And then who is doing it at a level that you respect and runs a business like you respect, and you might think you could be either create one of your own or be a part of, and you call them and reach out to them. That's what you do, right? Don't go it alone.
Yeah, I think we'll see a lot of consolidation of resources in 2021. I have a background in nonprofit management, and that's always something that we talk about in that space as well. Not competing for resources, aligning yourself with the right partners. And it's also true in this industry. We're out there providing a service to consumers, and it's important that we're aligning our resources accordingly. And so I think in 2021, you're going to see a lot of consolidation of efforts, because we know what's possible. We know what type of level of service that can be provided to the consumer. We see billion-dollar companies providing that level of service to large, numbers of consumers. And so we know that it's possible to provide that level of care and touch. And so I think you're going to see a lot of consolidation of resources in 2021 as we strive to provide the best experience for our consumers.
Yeah, Mindy, I'm going to use that statement as an opportunity to pivot to talking about the gratitude that we wanted to make sure that we addressed today as well, because I think all of those things are connected, right? So when So, this year, obviously, this time last year, I was reviewing my 2020 goals and where I needed to be, and I had this great plan. And right around mid-March, and so my birthday is March 20th. You actually brought it up earlier, Jesse, and that was the day that between there and St. Patrick's Day is right about where the wheels kind of came off for so much of the world, and so. Even though we've had so much to deal with this year and so many challenges, there are great things that happen this year at the same time, right? So, I shared with you guys the conversation I was having with a gentleman who was telling me that he's been in the business for over 20 years and this is his best year ever. And so it's because he didn't, and Jesse's alluded to this over and over again, he took advantage of the opportunities that were in front of him. When there was those business opportunities, he figured out how to go out and do the work. So let's talk about that a little bit, about how how do you show the gratitude for the year, especially a year like this, right? Where we can't go and have a big party and we can't go and do all these other things. So what's some great ways and ideas that maybe you and the team are showing, Mindy, Jesse, maybe even to your agents, right? To the things within your office. You've got almost 300 agents in the office, and so
28.
So almost 300 is the other way of it. Yeah. So so 328 agents.
It's important because we're going to 500 next year. So
I love it. And so and for your clients and for the whether that be the agents or whether that be the consumers that you're working with, what's gratitude look like for 2020 as we're going into this Thanksgiving?
Oh, so
for me,
go ahead.
Go ahead, maybe I'll let you go.
We're all very excited to talk about gratitude. I'll tell you, for us at the Amy Jones Group, it's been, service has always been part of our platform. I was recently with my team volunteering, and they asked our team members, what their experience with volunteering was. And several of my team members mentioned that they had never volunteered before they were with our team. And that really meant so much to me, because giving back and serving the community that I live and work in is literally a part of my fabric. And so to be running a team and to be blessed to have a platform where when we do have really good years, I can take what I normally want to do with my team and really elevate it. And we're able to provide more hours, more dollars, more time dedicated to service and giving back. It means so much to me that I have this platform to serve, and that I can bring people into my world and expose them to, what giving back really can look like and how impactful that can be. And so for us, it is something that we've always done. And this year we've been able to take it to a higher level. So we do a Live, Love, Local series, which is a video series where we highlight local businesses and local nonprofit organizations. And every time we highlight a nonprofit organization, we commit something to them, whether it's a day of volunteer service from our team, whether it's next year, we have a really exciting project that I can't wait to announce some details on with ICANN here in Chandler. So it really has opened up for us a year of how can we do it bigger? How can we do it better? Who more can we serve? And so every event that we do has had a give back component to it. Here at the office, we're running our annual food drive for the United Food Bank through the end of the month. And so when my agents have done open houses this month, they've had a box out there to collect canned foods. This weekend, I mentioned we're doing
truckloads of food coming in yesterday.
Yes, that is
great.
Heather Openshaw and the Openshaw Purple Real Estate team. They were out at their farm collecting food, and it's unbelievable what they have been able to collect from the community. It's so powerful if you go into our training room and see the number of teams in this office and the food that they've been able to donate. So we are a recipient site for that through the end of the month. And I think I mentioned we're doing a client appreciation event this weekend, and that's another opportunity. So we're giving back to our clients, but we've also asked them to bring canned foods to contribute to the canned food drive. So for us and for our commitment to 2021, it's just for giving back to be a part of everything that we do.
Amazing. You guys do such great work, Mindy.
Yeah.
So yes, thank you for sharing that. And then that, what about for you? How do you express your gratitude to your client base, your agents you work with? How does that work for you guys?
Well, I know a lot of people deliver pies. And so obviously, since it is Thanksgiving and we do love to show our gratitude to our clients and our agents and partners that really help us uplift businesses, and our way to give back is, we do a pie drive. So getting our pies out there. We also, same thing as Mindy, charity. Charity work is huge for us. I know Amber's got a really great charity going on right now. It's for Thanksgiving. I will share her charity on my Facebook page. So if anyone wants to go onto my Facebook page, I'll make sure that that's shared after we get done. But what it does is it provides food for families that are in need over the holidays. Her sister passed away a few years ago from cancer, and one of the things that they loved to do together was to cook Thanksgiving dinner. And so her way of creating all of this and giving back was to be able to create this charity. And so she and us and lots of people gather around and go deliver meals to needy families during this time that are sick. They cannot really afford to do this, or maybe they just don't have the time. You've got somebody in the hospital, they're not doing well. Whatever the case might be, they provide the meals for those families. So I'm really excited for her this year. I know it's finally a 501c3. It was made that way last year, so she's super excited about that. And so I can't wait to help her out with that too.
Excellent. That's awesome, Annette. And thank you. And thank you for you and Amber both do. It's great. And Jesse, so 323 agents. So 328. Oh my God, should have written down. So 328 agents. And so obviously all of these things that we're talking about doing, and I want to say something in closing all that, but before I get there, so what is it like? How do you show those folks how much how's that work within an organization like Keller Williams Integrity First?
Yeah, I saw you send that question over, and I thought, man, Don, that's such a broad stroke question for me, right?
Right.
And I think there's no right or wrong answer to it. And everybody that would see that question or be asked that question would respond differently. So I was thinking about it before the call, and for me, it's time, right? You're right. The bigger your world gets, you have to be really intentional about how you deliver on that. For me, I think it's like this time of year, I set my whole calendar for next year. I know when I'm going to be out of the office. I know when I'm going to be on vacations, because obviously showing gratitude to my family is more important than anything for me. And because I prioritize that, you get all of me when we're doing things like this, or having a meeting with me, or that type of thing. So for me, it's providing a platform in which they can do the things like Mindy's doing here in the office, outside of the office. We have all of those events that happen within Keller Williams. We show gratitude. We're very community oriented, and so for me, it's through coaching and consulting and teaching. I can really connect with people in a room at scale that way, and if I can add value to them through my experiences and knowledge of the industry that they can then take back to their businesses and their families benefit from it, that's the biggest way in my heart that I am showing how much I care about you and the success of you and your business, and want to see you thrive in it. So those that know me know I I have very deep relationships. Outwardly looking, you wouldn't think that maybe because I am very intentional and focused when I'm at work. But it's just because my day's already been set up.
Mhm.
And so when you say, hey, do you got a minute? I'm like, no, I don't, because I've already thought my day through, right? So anyways, so I have to be very intentional about it because it's not my natural behavior style and to stop and say and smell the roses, so to speak, even for myself.
But you can't touch as many people as you touch without being intentional. I think that's like one of the key takeaways of what you're saying here, Jesse, is that if you want to live a big life, you have to do it with intention. It doesn't happen on accident. And when people talk about being present and talk about stopping and smelling the roses and things like that, it makes it sound very lackadaisical. And the people who are able to touch the most people in this world, it's because they've done it with intention. And it's, I when I'm doing these Live Love Locals and I'm going to these nonprofits, all I want to do is give. Like, I can't leave without asking them what they need, how I can help. And I have to be intentional about that, right? I have to make money to give money, and I have to give money accordingly in a way that I can still fund my family and I can still support my team. And I can't stretch myself too thin that I can't be present. I mean, you have to be intentional about all of these choices. It's like the mask in the airplane, right? You have to put it on yourself first before you put it on somebody else. And it takes time and life and maturity to understand what that really means. But you have to feed yourself and be intentional about your choices so that you can serve at a higher level.
Absolutely, yeah, and that's what you guys. I tell you, and you guys all know this about me, but I came from and while Fidelity's a big corporation, I came from even bigger corporations prior to working with Fidelity. And one of the gifts that I've received is the ability to work with so many different entrepreneurs who are, I just get to see so much more, right? I get to see the way that so many people give back. And while Thanksgiving is a great time to reflect on such things, it's all year long that I see things. I see Red Day in your office. I see how many people jump into that. I see all of you guys doing Feed My Starving Children. I see all of these events all throughout the year, and this is the gift that this industry gives to me every year. So I love being a part of those things. I love supporting those things. It is so amazing to me to work in an industry where you see so many people who are entrepreneurs, but at the same time that they give and that they understand that they're receiving gifts every day and they want to give back every day. And so congratulations to you guys, because I've seen everybody on this screen doing these things. And so I love being a part of it. And I know most of you guys who are watching in Facebook land, that you guys are others that I've seen doing this as well. And congratulations to all of you. And it's amazing and something that I get a gift from every day. So thank you for that. So
I think the last year is like Mindy said too, it's small things that make big differences too. We have such, as we go into the holiday season, it doesn't take a whole bunch to make a big impact in somebody's life at a particular time that they might be experiencing. So and I know I don't even have to say it, you will. This industry is, I brag on it all the time, is as much as we go into the communities and stand them up in times of trials and that type of thing, I guarantee you there'll be a big impact this holiday season too. And I just appreciate everybody in your efforts as you contribute to that and the work you do on a daily basis. And although those record years are happening this year, I know it's been a lot of hard work.
Yeah.
And you haven't heard that once on any of the calls that we've had, Don, that I've been on anyway. You haven't heard that come up at all. And so I just want to say thank you, and that is recognized. And we appreciate you. Make sure you do get some downtime. 2021 is going to be a robust year, full of opportunity. So sit down, get your calendar out, and mark your days off and your vacations, and really enjoy this holiday season.
Okay,
and don't leave anybody behind. right?
Absolutely.
Not other agents that are struggling, not community members who may be struggling more than others. Just keep your eyes and ears open, and the need and the blessings will appear.
Yeah. Okay, one more thing before we wrap up and say goodbye to everybody and wish everybody happy Thanksgiving. Mindy, you have a very big event coming up on December 4th. I want to make sure you have an opportunity to talk about this and invite those people who have an interest. They can reach out to me. They can reach out to Mindy. We can get you connected into this. But Mindy, you want to tell us a little bit about what you got going on?
Yes, absolutely. I am so excited for this. We are going to be having Lindsay Mellenburnt, who works with Fenimore Craig. She's in charge of their marketing world, and she is creating this beautiful platform for helping people succeed in business. That includes building brand, building culture, building social responsibility, and really just showing up as their best selves, not only in 2020, in 2021, helping local entrepreneurs, helping big businesses. She's just an incredible resource for our community. And I'm so excited that she is going to be the guest speaker at this women leadership breakfast that we're hosting at Parlay Kitchen and Cocktails in Chandler. There's going to be a plated breakfast with mimosas. Everything is a little better with mimosas. But we're really going to be talking about taking your personal and professional life to the next level. So showing up how you want to show up, getting clarity around 2021. And we will touch on, Jesse, what you mentioned, which is a lot of people are feeling burnt out. Either they're in an industry that's thriving, like the real estate industry, and they've been going at 100 since March. I mean, we have not stopped. Or they're in a struggling industry as a local business owner or as an employee of a struggling business environment, and they're struggling. They're challenged. They've been challenged in their work environment. They've been challenged financially. They've been challenged as parents. It has been a challenging year, whether you're thriving or surviving in 2020. So we are going to touch on that a little bit, get some clarity around 2021, and leave feeling energized about showing up in our best way possible next year. So it's definitely an event that you don't want to miss. It is completely free. You do have to RSVP, and there's going to be a great giveaway from our partners at Guild Mortgage. So you'll have to come to learn more, but you can visit the Amy Jones Group Facebook page. There is an event up there, and you can RSVP directly through there, or you can call us at 480-250-3857. It's going to be an amazing event for women in our industry.
Yeah, I'm so excited for this. That's what I've had a little preview of some of the things that Lindsay's going to talk about, and it's going to be a great event. So
yes, we so appreciate the connection to her. It's really going to be a wonderful day, and we're really excited to bring it to our community.
Absolutely. Okay.
Thanks for doing that.
And so it's time for us to say goodbye. Happy Thanksgiving to all of you guys and your families.
Yes.
We won't be seeing you next week. So we'll be back on December 3rd. So thank you, everybody. And thank you guys all for sharing today as well. I appreciate every one of you. Grateful for you as well. And we'll see you guys in a couple weeks. So thank you. Bye-bye, everybody.
Happy Thanksgiving. Bye, guys.